In our digital world, we're all sitting on a fortune, whether we realize it or not. I'm talking about our data. So the big question is, how do we protect it? Well, today, we're going to think like medieval architects and build a digital fortress. So grab your blueprints, let's start building. Think about it. Every single piece of your information, your emails, your photos, your financial records, it's all treasure. And just like any treasure, it's valuable, which of course means people are going to try to steal it. That is exactly where cybersecurity comes in. It's the high-tech vault we build around our digital lives. So yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Building a digital fortress isn't about putting up one single wall. No, it's about layers of defense, it's about clever strategies, and it's about some really fundamental principles. And that is exactly what we are going to explore. All right, so here's our tour map for today. We're going to start with the foundational laws of our fortress. Then we'll meet the gatekeepers, adopt a modern and kind of paranoid defensive mindset, inspect the physical walls, and finally, we'll set some clever traps for anyone who dares to try and get in. Okay, first things first. Every fortress, every kingdom has its laws. In the world of cybersecurity, the supreme law of the land is the CIA triad. And no, not that CIA. This one stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. These three principles, they are the absolute bedrock of everything we do to protect our data. So, first up is confidentiality. You can think of this as the secrecy pact. It's the simple but crucial promise that our data is for our eyes only, or, for the eyes we specifically choose. It's like a sealed letter. We use things like encryption and access controls to make absolutely sure our secrets stay secret. Next, we have integrity. This is all about making sure our treasure is authentic. It's the guarantee that the data you're looking at hasn't been secretly messed with, or worse, replaced with a fake. We use tools like digital signatures and hashing to make sure what we sent is exactly what was received. No changes allowed. Right, but what good is a secret, authentic treasure if you can't actually get to it when you need it? That's where availability comes in. It's the promise that when you, an authorized user, need your data, it is there for you, period. This means building resilient systems with backups and failovers so the fortress doors are always open, but only for the right people. This quote really just nails it, doesn't it? But here's an even simpler way to think about it all. Confidentiality is the lock on the treasure chest. And integrity? That guarantees that what's inside is the real gold, not just a convincing fake. All right, so we've got our laws down, but who's actually enforcing them at the gate? For that, we need gatekeepers, a really robust system for checking IDs and deciding who gets in, and maybe more importantly, what they're allowed to do once they're inside. This whole process is managed by something called the AAA framework. The best way to picture it is to think about airport security. First step is authentication. You show your passport to prove you are who you say you are. Simple. Next is authorization. Your boarding pass shows you're allowed to go to a specific gate. You can't just wander anywhere you want. And finally, there's accounting. The system logs that you boarded the plane, keeping a clear record of your actions. And all this leads to a super important concept, non-repudiation. Just think of it like a digital signature that's absolutely impossible to forge. It provides concrete proof that you, and only you, sent a message or approved a transaction. It makes it impossible for you to turn around later and say, "Nope, wasn't me," which, as you can imagine, is essential for building any kind of trust online. The old way to build a fortress was this hard on the outside, soft on the inside kind of thing. But what happens if an attacker actually gets past that outer wall? The modern strategy is way more paranoid, and because of that, it's way more effective. It's called zero trust. The core idea here is really simple, but it's a total game changer. Never trust, always verify. It doesn't matter if a request is coming from outside the fortress or from the computer in the room next door. Every single attempt to access anything is treated as a potential threat until it proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it's legitimate. So how do we actually do this? Well, it's through some really smart strategies, like continuously checking a user's identity based on their behavior and by segmenting the network into smaller, secured zones. That way, if one room is breached, the attacker is trapped there and they can't access the rest of the fortress. It's all about limiting the blast radius. Now, it's really easy to get lost in all this digital stuff, right? But we have to remember, our data actually lives on physical servers, in real buildings. A fortress is only as strong as its actual walls, gates, and guards. We can never, ever forget the physical front line. And believe me, the layers here are deep. It all starts at the property line with fences. Then you've got things like bollards to stop vehicles, constant video surveillance, and of course, security guards who are there verifying identities. Then you add access badges, bright lighting, motion sensors. They all work together to create a really powerful physical defense. A perfect example of all these layers coming together is something called an access control vestibule. You'll probably hear it called a man trap, which is just a fantastic name. It's basically a small room with two interlocking doors. To get through, that first door has to close completely behind you before the second one will even think about opening. This stops people from sneaking in behind you and makes sure only one person gets in at a time. It's a simple but incredibly effective physical choke point. Okay, our walls are high, our gates are strong. But what about those really, really clever attackers? Well, for them, we've got one last trick up our sleeve: deception. It's time to set some traps. I mean, seriously, think about it. Instead of just sitting back and waiting to be attacked, what if you could actually turn the tables on them? What if you could lure them away from your real treasure and into a monitored environment where you can watch and study their every move without any risk to your actual systems? And that's where things like honeypots and honeynets come in. A honeypot, that's like a single decoy computer, something that just looks juicy and vulnerable. But a honeynet, oh, that's the next level. That's an entire fake network designed to look like a real corporate environment. Attackers think they've hit the jackpot, when in reality, they're just walking right into our laboratory. And you can get even sneakier with this stuff. A honey file might be a fake document named something like employeesalaries.txt. The second an attacker opens it, bam, an alarm goes off. A honey token could be a fake user account just sitting in a database. Any attempt to use it is an immediate red flag. These are the digital tripwires of our fortress. So, there you have it. Let's take a quick look back at our tour. A truly secure digital fortress isn't just one thing. It's a complete system built on the foundational laws of the CIA triad, controlled by those AAA gatekeepers, operated with a zero-trust mindset, protected by very real physical barriers, and armed with some deviously clever traps. And that brings us to one last really important thought. We've talked about technology, processes, principles, the whole shebang. We've built this incredible digital fortress with all these layers of defense. But with all of that in place, where do you think its single greatest vulnerability actually lies? I'll give you a hint. It might be a lot closer than you think. Thanks for joining this explainer.